I've got a daughter who planned a gingerbread party and she just canceled it. Just looking at all the guidelines and
Is it because she forgot to invite me?
yeah, exactly. Well, it's supposed to be no more than 10 people, only from 2 households. And, what you can talk about that, it doesn't make sense. But it just, again, brought me back to the issues that we're all dealing with all the time. But as of this recording, more so with the current, pandemic and just this, it all feels kind of negative. I ran yesterday here in our pristine little town. I'm out there running on the sidewalks, beautiful day. And older lady is coming towards me on the sidewalk, and she's on one side, I'm kind of on the other. And as I get closer, she stops, turns away from me, covers her mouth, and then I run by. Okay, so again,
Wow.
I mean, no judgment or dissent or something, but I'm just going, it doesn't feel good. And we have more and more and more of that going on. And just thinking again about what are the cumulative effects of, I'm going to call it negative exposure, and we'll go down through some, and how does it affect us? We've talked recently about immunity. How much does it lessen my immunity? But because it heightens my stress. And I just wonder, I think there's no way we can comprehend what those little drips, those little deposits of negativity, of stress, anxiety, what they are doing to us, and how can we be aware and avoid/counteract them?
Right. Because I'm imagining you jogging along. It's a good day. You've got a good demeanor, a good attitude, a good posture. And then that happens where now you feel slightly offended, like just a little bit. Maybe not you, but I'm imagining me. I would have been a little slightly offended. And I would have also felt a little guilty.
That was exactly, that's
I
what I
should
felt.
have crossed the street
Yeah.
to preserve this poor woman from me and my offensiveness.
Yeah.
And she thought something along the same lines, like, oh my gosh, how dare you? Like a little bit of affrontedness maybe, or a little bit of fear. I wish I didn't have to turn away from this guy.
But right there, you're talking about that. And what it is, it's an uncertainty. I don't really know what she thinks.
Well, right. And
she may have felt bad because she didn't have a mask on. I mean, I didn't either, but we don't know.
And there's no human interaction that you can rely on to say, like, I'm pretty sure that if I look somebody in the eye and go, good morning, that they're not going to hate me or hit me or.
And I think a year ago, I mean, this is, we're recording this in December 2020, in March, early March, before all this stuff. It would have been a positive.
You could have just said hello.
Yeah, it would have been, somebody else is out. Hey, how you doing? Good afternoon. And so for the past however many months, whether I'm on the trail mountain biking or sidewalk running or whatever, it is a different demeanor. There are far less smiles, far less hellos, far less joy. And then there's often that of feeling like you're supposed to spread apart. And this is the
not even in your own home. There's this less of a party.
Okay, so that's one piece. Now we've done shows and we talked about exposure to. I mean, we could talk about that right now. We're all always. So let's go out of the pandemic. We're all always dealing with exposure to possible exposure, if in a negative sense. Visually, auditorily, smell, skin. It's however
contact,
contact, yeah, and people. And then the media that we see. And I want us to, I thought we'd land on the media today, but we're all dealing with those all the time. So it's relevant to think, how can we, again, minimize, counteract those things all the time? But right now we are also in a place, and I'm going to say culturally, media, where there's, I don't know what the percentage is. We could make something up, but there's a percentage higher of negative exposure. We are all going to, unless we stay in a hole.
Right. If you expose yourself to the news, there's going to be a negativity about it. Yeah. So it's interesting that you bring that up, because from the medical side, there is this idea of the exposome. So, we have the genome. It comes from this word genome.
I've never heard of that.
So the genome is your entire gene setup, right? That's your genome that makes you. And so we have the genetic connection to what we eat, or proteins. So it's a proteomics or nutrigenomics. How does your nutrition interact with your genome? The genome is your infrastructure, and your phenome, or the phenotype, is what I see. Like I see you and how tall you are and all of that. It's influenced by, did you lift weights or did you go to bed on time or whatever. So now in the medical sense, there's also this exposome that incorporates everything you're talking about.
Hmm.
And if you think about epigenetics, so epi means above, so everything your genome is exposed to is the exposome. And how does it interact molecularly, microscopically, as you, because when you say drip, 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 molecularly, it's a flood, 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 flood.
Okay.
And that is a part of our phenotype. Like I said, if you went to bed on time and lifted weights yesterday, you're a little bit different today than you would have been. And how you're different is related to your genes,
Yeah.
and related to how you've lived the previous exactly 50 years and one day before. Happy birthday.
Thanks. Yeah. And on my birthday, I turned 50 and I've had 2 nights. I had 5.5 hours night before last and 6.5 hours. So
You didn't invite me to any of those parties either.
yeah. Lord of the Rings, Christmas watching.
Key lime
Yeah.
pie.
Yeah. And just early, I just got so much going on. I'm just waking up early, just thinking of stuff. So yeah. Well, we're talking about exposure, and I was about to make an analogy, and I thought, wow, we actually have a good one right now. Everybody's wearing masks, because of the possibility of exposure to COVID-19, we're all wearing masks. And to think about that as I go out into my life from the moment I wake up, or even while I'm sleeping, what am I doing to mask myself
Mm-hmm. Protect yourself
from negative
mm-hmm.
exposure, whether that's I don't want to use this for my own spouse, but theoretically it's your spouse and their negativity, or your kid, or the news you pick up,
or putting a hat on to protect yourself from the sun.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
hugeness
Sunscreen.
of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Right. That we have to, and you flip it around, or do I take my hat off to expose myself to
vitamin D,
right, to all of the good side of light and all that does for us. And it becomes infinitely complex. That's the exposome and the interaction with the genome. But so now we also have a medical system that, in that news cycle of negativity and all of that, the largest business in America is providing care for all of our illnesses and ailments. That's the biggest part of our gross domestic product. And there's a feeling like medicine can deliver. You hear precision medicine these days based on one's genome. That's where that came from. We're going to precisely peel the layers of you back and think you need this drug, not that drug, or whatever. But in reality, the infiniteness, the complexity of it all is mind-boggling and overwhelming. And then when you engage yourself into that trillion-dollar system, what do you come out with on the other side? And you might come out with a hat saying,
yeah, here's a pill, and it's the best
ear stuffing, so you don't listen to XYZ news.
Yeah. And you as from a medical standpoint are over here going, how can we keep you from that exposure or guard you against it without just giving you a Band-Aid to manage it's back to that. We did a show recently, I'm hitting you, and you're, how can you get a shirt that protects you from me hitting you? How can you stop me hitting you?
Right.
And so, again, looking at that. And so there was this, I told you about this, there was this meme or something, a picture that a guy said it, and I don't know if it's a picture of him or whatever. And he said, this is his quote: "Some poor phoneless fool is probably sitting next to a waterfall somewhere, totally unaware of how angry and scared he's supposed to be." The guy's name's Duncan Trussell. I have no idea what it is, but it was something that got posted to me or shared to me. And I told you, it reminded me, it was back in March, the actor, Jared Leto, and I can't even say what his lead thing is. I think he was like the Joker in some movie or something like that. Anyways, he said, it's a Jared Leto being on a silent meditation retreat. He totally missed out on the coronavirus pandemic. And it says, while the rest of the world, and this is in the past tense now, had been sharing or been learning about social distancing and such, the actor was completely unplugged. He tweeted later, 12 days ago, I began a silent meditation in the desert. And so he came back to this pandemic. How would that be if we did not have our phones, if we did not have our TVs, if we did not come out into the public and see people with masks? We would be so unaware. And yet this is the world that we live in today, heightened right now. And yeah, again, it just got me wondering for myself, because I am thinking about it more than ever. Here are my kids, it's Christmas. and we're going around and can't have the Christmas party. We're not doing this, family singing at church. We're not going to the Broadmoor to go see the lights. And just that peace in my psyche, what does that do? I mean, your kids at home, at school, and if we exaggerate, we always talked about how often we are in this blue zone, but somebody this morning is waking up to a bad relationship in a musty apartment in downtown New York with sounds of sirens and people yelling at each other, and somebody's banging on the other side of the wall, and there's frustration and irritation, and they walk down and there's no cab or Uber or whatever, and they have to walk, and they don't have money for their best coffee, and it just boom, 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 over, just like you said, infinite negativity. And how can we guard ourselves? I mean, I think any of us can look at that and go, okay, well, I'm, visually, how can I guard myself? We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Input, output, auditorily, what I put in, what I don't put in.
Because what I want to say right there is, you and I are not living in musty downtown old building New York City or wherever. So then by proxy, should you and I, and should everybody in this town be like, oh my gosh,
Sure,
so grateful, so full of it, but they're not. So what I'm bringing up here is, wherever somebody is, whether in musty downtown somewhere or 9,000 foot Woodland Park, their perception
yes,
is the critical piece of how they're perceiving negativity or positivity.
well, because I just said that, and there's some kid, I just read a book, goodness, who was it? So maybe somebody I'm going to have on a show, and how they strove to get to New York City, the Big Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And in that scenario I just talked about, she would have woken up ecstatic.
Excited. I'm
made
here.
it. Yes.
Listen to the sirens. This is what I have seen on the movies
awesome.
all the time.
I'm out of this stupid small town. Because here we are in our pristine Woodland Park, Colorado, and I've got a daughter who's going to move home temporarily as she decides. She's been living in Leadville. She's going to come here, and she does not want to live in small town Colorado, at least not for now. She wants to go, and whether it's I don't know if it's a big city, she doesn't necessarily want to do that, but she just wants something else. They're looking at Florida and thinking about that, and just a different place. She does not want this. So right now she feels a negativity for being here, just because she wants to spread her wings. So back to your perception of that. Well, so if we look at counteracting, how do we what's maybe step number one is change your attitude.
Yes.
Be grateful.
Yes.
Okay.
I would put that number one, because think about it. You can't change your genotype. You can't. You are what you are, and you can influence it, and you have great influence over the phenotype, how you look and all of that. And probably the biggest epigenetic influence on the way you are is the way you choose to perceive.
Yeah.
And so many people lose out on the word choose there. They feel like, well, I didn't have a choice.
It is what it is. I mean, do you hear the sirens? This is terrible.
Right. You can't not hear them. And your daughter can't not be from Woodland Park.
Yeah.
She is. And right now she's going to be here. And she could really feel negative about that. Now, if her own goal in life, if her major goal was to never get never get any virus, or especially COVID virus, then she would be a fool to leave here.
Yeah.
Right. She should stay in Leadville. Probably. So I think, yes, your perception, attitude, choice of the way you see things is the biggest impact on, even when you get medical into the actual heart attack, the actual plaque within an artery, the actual depression, the actual level of serotonin and epinephrine and all of that.
I thought you were going to go into, the other day we were talking about placebo,
mm-hmm.
and that came up, and well, what if the benefit is really just placebo? And your answer was
great.
Whatever.
Let's take more of that medicine.
I mean, to that degree, how you perceive gratitude is a bit of a placebo, because nothing changed. It still is a moldy, musty old apartment with sirens going off. And, to look at that, I mean, in all fairness, I think, in the positivity world that I live in, you're supposed to, look at that and change your perspective. And, if it sucks, sometimes it just does. But what can you be grateful for? So maybe you're not going to be grateful for the sirens, but what can you be grateful for? The fact that you're not the one in the ambulance. So and not to be just Pollyanna and stupid, but how many of us, there's few people hearing this show that do not have much to be grateful for, which I did not, that wasn't the point of the show for what I was coming
Well,
into, but it's a
but even on
primary part.
this is a hard statement, but even being grateful for how bad something is because it motivates me to get out of the badness.
Grateful for the pain.
For the pain. Yeah. It's the blessing of pain. And the pain might be a bad attitude.
Yeah.
I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And okay, well, let's change. And what are you going to change? Begin. And you're watching Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
but I have said this phrase to my kids and even my wife last night. It's like, let's just get down the hill for starters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they've got this Mount Everest of a task and 10,000 orcs between them and Mount Doom. But they've made it this far. And it's like, they could have stopped right there and said, we never thought we would have made it this far. Look how far we made it.
Yeah.
But let's just get down the hill.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Well, so, as we look at this, then, right now, again, if you look at the media and you look at, gosh, I'm looking at the video screen here. It kind of cleared up. It's so weird.
I'll be grateful for that.
Yeah, I'll be grateful for that. But if we look at the things out there right now, vaccines, is big news. But if I polled the average person, how many of them are not aware? They're not the guy phoneless by the waterfall, and they're pretty much aware. We talked about that, or you talked about it, that we are more aware. I am more aware of the current events, news than ever.
Right.
And I'm wondering about it. And like that, we were on it last night looking at that. We looked at the Great Barrington Declaration because we were, again,
thinking about
this gathering possibility and stuff. So we're on there. Well, while I'm on there, I'm seeing all the vitriol about vaccines and whatever. If you're on social media, you've got people going, I'm not, who's with me? I'm not ever going to vaccine. And this guy over here is required vaccine, not required. What are they saying? Mandated vaccines. And it's just, so you're exposed to it. And so, I was thinking about that. It's lowering, thinking about right now, there's so much in the media, if we come to that specifically, media, and let's just say the culture, because the culture right now is more exposed, full of viewing the media than ever. Lowering, what's the probability of lowering of our inspiration right now, our hope, our joy, our immunity, our confidence, our faith, and increasing stress, anxiety, worry, doubt, confusion, and uncertainty.
I feel it myself.
I do too. And that's what I'm, with the little instances of the lady turning away from me on the thing, or can't do that event, or seeing what you do, on the media. So what can we do to limit it and counteract it? That's what I thought. I mean, because some of it right now, because we would say, don't look at the news. But yesterday we had a valid need to, didn't have to, but if we're going to decide if we're going to legitimately be respectful of planet Earth and humanity, we need to go and figure out, can we really have this gathering? Because of course I was trying to say, oh, come on, seriously, we can't have these young healthy kids come together.
And then even, you turn to the quote unquote news and Google and whatever search engine, which absolutely influences whatever you read and whatever popped up. There is a way that all of that gets calculated as to what you see. So that's another layer of negativity. Like, do I trust what I can read out there? I'll tell you what I did.
That's mistrust is a big one. That is a big one. Mistrust that I am dealing with, because I don't trust the media, and yet I'm going to it to figure out, okay, what the heck's going on in the culture?
And even on the Great Barrington thing, it's like, well, how come I didn't even know about this yesterday? And then, and when I read it, I thought, okay, it makes sense. But then, and I was kind of surprised at the vitriol that has since come out about it, highlighting, oh my gosh, there's no landing on a single opinion. There's just no option for that.
There's not. And so I was looking yesterday at Colorado, and they have the county by county, levels. Is it red, yellow, orange, whatever. And I saw then, probably because I looked that up, then later on in my, I don't know, wherever I was, Facebook, or I'm looking somewhere, then I see the headline of our governor, or it was a county defying the state regulation for their county and saying, no, we are not accepting that. I think they were trying to label them red. We're not going to accept that. We're not going to close down X, Y, Z. Yeah. And it just,
who's right?
It's just it's just negative. It's, and this has happened before. I mean, back with 9/11, I think, we probably experienced some of that, but it didn't affect me in Tennessee at the time. It was a
Right.
tragic thing, but I didn't have anybody that I knew died. It didn't affect the next day you go to work and school, it's all the same. Well, I mean, they heightened security stuff, but
Airline,
yeah, you
TSA,
can't
all
go to the
that.
gate and see your
Mhm.
loved one off at the final gate. And those things changed forever. But my goodness, again, we're at a time when I've got to believe.
You know what I was getting ready to say is because I felt one morning, I just need to go and look at the news, or
Mhm.
you have a question, you want to go figure it out. And so I think, and this is what I think for many people, we've talked about the morning routine. And my conclusion there was I'm going to not look. And on one hand, the negative side of that, somebody's saying you're burying your head in the sand.
Mhm.
You're Pollyanna. It's not there. It's not there. It's not there. If I close my eyes.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if my entire reason for existence is my time with God, my devotion to this relationship, then it still doesn't matter whatever happened in Tennessee or 9/11 or whatever, that's still, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do through that lens, choosing to be grateful for what I can be grateful for, and then
Yeah.
choosing to change what I feel the conviction to change.
Well, and there was, I mean, pre all this stuff, that was my norm. Well, it still is today. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
still doing that. But then I did not partake in much of the news. I mean, day to day is going on, and not much is happening. And now, yeah, I mean, I'm getting the emails. I mean, I'm sure you do too, for school. And every day, the email that
There's
I get from
an
school,
update and a change.
I'm wondering, are the kids going? Uh, the boys are, at the high school today. And I said, it's Wednesday. I thought you went Thursday and Friday. No, I can't keep up with the schedule. So I'm looking at that. Do the kids, dance and gymnastics? Is that still happening? Can we have that gathering? Can we do that thing? And wondering, we've got, and travel is messed up for people. And so it's so hard to put our heads in the sand. And
And you
I mean,
can't to 100%,
yeah.
and you shouldn't.
So
I'm
if we,
seeing this in our family with the kids. Like, that's a tangible, what on earth is going on with our young teenagers who are so impressionable, and we're striving so hard to, sports is gone.
Mhm.
And for both Marcy and I, that was sort of a stake in the ground of how time was managed. Every day for 2 hours, there was an engagement with people on the social level, team sports, and doing something. And then you came home, you did your homework, you had a family dinner time, and you did more homework if you had to, or maybe, and it was, and then you went to bed.
Mhm.
It doesn't exist.
I,
And there's hours that I feel like it's my responsibility to fill my kids' hours up with,
yeah.
or they're on a screen.
But even with the uncertainty, what I was thinking of as you're saying that is, I've got kids, my kids who don't like school that much, they don't enjoy it. They like it even less right now. They are less
Don't want to
happy about
go.
it. And my kids who like it are less happy
Are
because it's
missing
messed
out.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ian is bummed. He'd rather be there every day hanging out with his friends, and he's only going 2 days a week, and they have to sit apart and they can't do this. So he's bummed. And my kid who doesn't like it, it's just all screwier, and he's just more frustrated that with it. So again, so if we just say by proxy, there is no way that we as a culture
I'm
are.
feeling very negative
I
right now.
know. So that's part of my point, is saying, okay, I'm kind of wanting to say it just is. So folks, I want us to all, back to my list of what is lowering the inspiration, hope, joy. I mean, what's increasing stress, anxiety. So we can't put our head in the sand. So if we just say, okay, we all know that we are being exposed to it. Just like if we were in downtown, Hong Kong, where the pollution is so high, to say you can't escape it. You can't escape it. What can you do to counteract it with gratitude,
Yeah.
and to limit it? But on the counteracting side, that's really where I came to go, okay, if today I know I'm going to have more of this negativity, gosh, I totally forgot. This is what we did last night. The kids got on to, because we got a new TV, so they're playing with stuff. But the other night they had pulled something up. I don't know where it came from. It's one of their favorite actors or something. And we don't watch a whole lot of TV, so I didn't know this existed. They found this Jimmy Fallon,
Mm-hmm.
whatever his late night or whatever. and he does these, it's like called improv or something theater or something like that, where so he sits with his guest and says, okay, pick a verb, running, pick 2 nouns, sheep, pick whatever, and then has him do this skit and it inserts these things. We laughed and laughed. There was this one, and there was one with Kevin James, the actor, the big guy, where they're eating they're talking with food in their mouth, like spitting on each other. It's totally stupid. I never watched stuff like that. I laughed to my cheek. I was literally holding my cheeks pushed in because I laughed, and I thought that's good counteracting.
Medicine.
Yeah, I
Medicine.
could not get rid of the added negativity in my life through the day, but that's something that I could do. You talked about, can I secure my morning and start it out peacefully? Can I meditate during the day? Can we come together at lunch today and just no negativity, guys? We're not talking about it. Tell me something you're grateful for. Tell me something that's fun. Tell me something you're looking forward to. But seriously, to guide our conversation and to have these. I mean, you just like you would say, okay, if you're gonna, gosh, you're we can't say the names. That'd be a HIPAA violation. But you have a patient who often goes to somewhere and has to come in here and get a malaria shot. Yeah, that. So he knows he's going to go get exposed. So they're going to come in here and go, okay, let's get the a Myers cocktail, which is a vitamin infusion. Let's get that to bolster us up. Let's not have sugar. Let's make sure we're getting good sleep. Let's get our malaria shot. Because we're going to step off a plane in a different place, and our body's going to be highly compromised, or it could be.
Right. There's going to be pressure.
So they're going to do all these things. So there, for us right now to say, we can't hide from this negativity. It is going to touch us.
Yes.
Even if I was hiding from everything, then that lady's still on the sidewalk and still turned away from me. It's that little negative hit. So I'm going to get X amount of more negative hits today than I would have a year ago. What can I do?
What can you do
to counter?
Didn't we, a time or two ago, I used the analogy of the submarine.
I was last show. That was, this is 55. I think that was 54.
Okay. Well, a submarine is wet.
Yeah.
It can't not be wet. It can't not be in the water. So there you go. You can't not breathe. You can't not be exposed to pollution and EMF negativity of the world. So we talked about all of if the submarine's perspective is to say, oh my gosh, there's more water. Oh my gosh, there's more water. Well, you will lose, right? You're just going to tank. You're going down. But if the submarine can also think, okay, I'm myself, how do I bolster my security? How do I be less leaky? Or how do I have a better build system to get out whatever leaks so that I'm not impacted by it? How do I not go down so deep? Like, not smoking is a great way to not put pressure on your immune system.
Yeah.
Going to bed on time, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of what the whole show is about, right? Is how do I lower the amount of pressure on me, and how do I bolster my own resilience?
Yeah.
That's it. And so that's what I just said about my mornings. And you too, is like, I love what you just said. I'm going to secure my morning. Stake in the ground. Boom. Remember Dustin? And he said, this is an anchor. I will never let go of this anchor.
Yeah.
This anchors my life. Relationships, gratitude for spouses. Now, if you're in a bad relationship or whatever, that's a missing anchor. You're adrift. Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen today? And insecurity in that is such a hard thing for the body to live in and with.
Yeah.
Safety within neighborhoods. Like, if you go to a not safe neighborhood and you're living there, those of us in a safe neighborhood don't understand what that does to the actual physiology of the body.
I'm always, it's always weird. I'll have family members, extended family or people visiting our home. So where I live, up there in the national forest, and it can't be seen, and they'll come up in the driveway, get out of their car and lock it. We don't even lock our doors.
So the bears don't get it.
But it's just habit because they live in, the city, and you do that. And it never crosses my mind unless my bike or computer are in the car and I'm at, Walmart or whatever. But yeah, anyways, to the things that
it's good for you. It's healthy for you that you don't have to lock your door.
Yeah.
Theoretically, right now, I just made that statement.
Of course, we have people come over and their anxiety is a bear. And
well,
I'm not scared of that anymore, but they are, because they're from the city and they've seen our pictures with bear in the yard, and so they've got that anxiety that I don't have. But anyways, yeah.
Can we measure the amount of goodness that you have because you don't lock your doors at night? Is that measurable? I mean, and no. And also it's, well, how do you perceive that? do you perceive that as, man, I feel so safe. I am so
Gratitude,
blessed.
gratitude,
Gratitude.
pride. Yeah, totally.
Or do you perceive that as, you know what? I don't ever lock my doors. I bet I'm going to get robbed one of these days.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's bound to happen. And maybe I should lock my doors.
Yeah. It is so funny. Yeah. Cause we've had people come up here and go, how do you live up here? There's just nothing here. I'm going, there's everything here, but yeah, nothing that, there's no mega
Right.
movie theaters and stores and whatnot, thinking about the counteracting. So today, you don't even know this. I'm not going to have lunch with you today because I'm going to go down the streets. I'm probably going to buy a mountain bike, a fat tire bike. And I'm overly excited about it. And I wonder though, if it's just like watching funny stuff that we don't normally do, that I'm probably triggered because I'm thinking along these lines anyways. And my point, why not? Maybe this is a good time in our current culture for everybody listening to think about how to counteract it. What is a hobby that you can take affirmative action towards? What is fun?
I was just going to say, put something in December that you will look forward to.
Yeah. And along those like uber positive, play, joy, inspiration, and maybe even more so because we have people who normally would have that can't. Like we normally go to the Broadmoor and sing Christmas carols, and we have our tradition there, and we can't do that now. So what can we do to add in more joy, more fun, more positivity as, again, affirmative action?
You can come carol at our house.
We actually talked about doing it in our quote,
your neighborhood.
Yeah, our quote neighborhood. Everybody had to walk a mile to come to the four corners in the middle and do something. But again, what can we do affirmative action wise to increase that joy, to say by proxy? And I think, and that was what I had in mind for the show. By proxy, we are all at a more negative level, possibly than ever culturally. I mean, somebody who's been in a tragedy and
right.
we're not
comparing us to Vietnam or
or
World
somebody
War II
whose
or Holocaust,
spouse died of cancer. I mean, but culturally across the board, we have this hum of more negativity. So if we accept that, and that's what I was wanting to get on the table today, what do we do? What should we do to go, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. Because we're so entrapped in the norm. And right now it's just the norm. It's been quick, but it's the norm.
It's the water we swim in.
It's the water we swim in, and really quick, it's gotten muddy. And to go, whoa, holy smokes, I can't not be touched by this. So what can I do to strengthen myself, which we talk a lot, but also to counteract it? And I hadn't thought about that. This has me more thinking about, okay, if we know the negativity, then maybe I should, instead of watching we don't ever watch a horror film. Folks, if you watch horror film, maybe don't. Stop doing that. Even if you were watching the tense drama, maybe throw in some comedy, throw in some fun, throw in a family game, throw in a massage. Throw in a spa day, maybe this is time to do some affirmative action for yourself to increase your joy. This sounds terrible, but we just got a TV. We had this old 10-year-old, I think it was like a 24 screen. That's our family TV. And so we just got, I told you last night. So we did it with 65 inch. It's a huge, the 75 was there and we could have bought it. And I just couldn't get myself. It was so violently outrageous. I couldn't do it, but we got it. And it's just fun. It's fun. We sat last night and watched Little Lord of the Rings, and they pulled these funny things up and we're just laughing. And I'm thinking about going to get some games, some family games, just buy some. They're expensive and you never know if everybody's going to like it, but just something fun. Again, what can we shoot in there? Yeah. Maybe it's a good time to take a list. What can we do as a family? Or you, when's the last time you did something? Just you go on a run, go on a ride.
I'm guilty.
Go play tennis.
That's why I'm a little bit stymied here, is to say, I think the flavor, the feeling of our family right now is in that muddy water. Yeah. It's like the frustration and negativity. And like we said earlier, I feel it probably like no time ever.
You need a good bottle of red wine, a good steak,
after an
amorous night with your wife,
after a great mountain bike, tennis playing, skiing day. Yes. Yeah.
What if Saturday you go out, because you would enjoy go out and do a 2-hour exercise and just spend yourself, and then come back looking forward to that. I mean, that right there gives you something to look forward to. It's not huge, but it's Wednesday and that's 3 days down the road and you get to look forward to. I've got kids coming into town. So I know Friday night will be, it'll be a Christmas movie. Oh, Christmas movie on the new
Yeah.
TV, one that we've never seen in actual decent resolution, you know? And then the next day it'll be how many people are we'll probably do that mountain bike or run together.
So my son's
Games.
girlfriend, they were watching Christmas movies, and we said, "Well, which ones are you guys going to watch?" And she said, all the old classics." And we were thinking, White Christmas. She goes, Home Alone,
Oh
Polar
gosh.
Express.
Yeah. That's funny. Polar Express, that would be a good one on a new TV. Well, so there, that as with a lot of these conversations, I just had the concept, and I like that this is a time to give affirmative action to,
Fun. We're going to prescribe
yeah,
play.
positivity. But I mean, with no greater thing, going back to where you started with gratitude. With gratitude, what can I be grateful for? This is a great time to make a gratitude list, to start the morning with gratitude, to think about it during the day, set your timer for the middle of the day, and
Remind yourself. Yeah.
and remind yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, and to think about that as the holidays are coming, sit down with the family, do that. But yeah, maybe again, a time also just for some pampering, do something, set it out there that you're going to look forward to.
That is fun.
That is fun. Yeah, let's do it.